Welcome to Center of Light, where my aim is always to be clear, so that light can shine bright. Tonight is Center of Light Dialect. Learn the language of light. Center of Light Dialect. Learning the language of light. Oh my God, I love it so much. Hello, Abigail. Hello, Juan. Hello, Sandy, Danielle, Kelly, Darrell, Dana, Trotter over here, Anna Yoga, Carl Laparo. Welcome, everyone. At the top of this feed, you will see a group of links. That group of links is very important to what I do, how I do it, why I'm able to do it. Thank you, Dana, for sharing. Hello, Tiger. Tiger's in the house, y'all. She's on fire. Check her out. Tiger, feel free to drop your link to your work in this forum. Let's see who else is here. All right. Center of Light Dialect. The language of light. Welcome, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful, beautiful Easter. Hello from Texas, my brother. The language of light. How do you hear it? How do you speak it? That's the language of light. That's the portal, the inlet. Juan says, hello from Earth. What's up, Lewis? Language of light. Center of Light Dialect. The language of light. Suddenly through the silence, the new world appears. You often hear me say. But you have to choose. Faith or fear. Simple belief or doubt. You're on the infinite journey to absolutely nowhere. We all are. We're not going anywhere. But you have to choose. So tonight we're going to be speaking about the language, the divine language, our birth language, our primordial, ancient self language, our native tongue, if you will. You've heard speaking in tongues, glossolalia. Hello, Deanie. Tell my dad hello, and if you're sitting right next to you, give him a big old kiss on his head. So the language of light. What is the language of light? It requires your heart to speak it. It requires your heart to understand it. It also requires this to see it, because it's not what you think. Tonight I'm really going to be speaking about, she says I will. Tonight I'm really going to be speaking about how to hear light. How can you hear light? Because it's a completely different language. Sound and light are the same coin, but two different sides. So when you understand what it is, the currency, that which you could spend, when you understand what it looks like, now you can identify with it, and it's simply out of the new world. The language of light appears. Hello, Sue. The language of light, known in the spiritual community, is a channeled cosmic language that distributes sound and energy to convey messages interpreted by the heart. Here we go. I just dropped this on the page. And speaks familiarity to your soul rather than through your programmed hearing and brain. This allows you to consume information differently by expanding your senses. Same as glossolalia, practiced in predominantly Pentecostal religion. Glossolalia. The phenomena of apparently speaking in an unknown language, especially in religious worship. It is practiced especially by the Pentecostal and charismatic Christians. So tonight on Center of Light Dialect, learn the language of light. In order to be able to do that, the first thing you have to learn to do is be quiet. You have to learn to be quiet. You have to learn to be silent for the new world to appear. You have to be silent. I got me some new lights, y'all. And I stuck some ohm symbols right on them. I like playing. So the language of light. Some people call it synchronicity. I love my father. My dad always looks good. Hello, Leland. So what is the language of light? Obviously, it comes from beyond our current bandwidth of thinking, feeling, being, and understanding. So we have to reach outside of our grasp to understand something a little higher. Until then, nothing will ever happen. Nothing will ever happen. So the language of light is that of the heart. We all know the language. We've all been touched. We've all been moved. But did we just feel that as a warm, fuzzy feeling? Or did we know to be, oh my God, if God is love, and this love is affecting my heart, then obviously I'm being spoken to by my divine parent through whoever person may have moved you. Get into that groove. The longer you begin to practice this dialect, if you will, just like a language, the more fluent, liquidy, watery, the more fluent you, buoyant's another word. The more fluid you will become with it. So when people speak, not only do you see and understand, because you're now aligned with your own native tongue, the language of light, you can also call bullshit when you see it. A lot easier. Hello, Carla. Hello, Link. Hello, Robert. The language of light. Just because you call a color green and how you see that color green may not appear to the person next to you the same way. They may see what you call green as to what they would call yellow. There's no way you can ever find that out. No matter how much science is behind it, you can't find it out. Perception is a different thing for everyone. Two people can be standing right next to each other and watch something unfold and happen, and they will describe two different events. Hello, Judy. So the language of light does not work that way. Predominantly, it's a language that affects us all the same. Meaning, inwardly, we all have the same seed being planted. Not everyone will take that seed and begin to germinate it, water it, till it blossoms, nurture it, prune it, pring it into a full-grown, healthy human plant. Hello, Angelo. So the language of light has been called synchronicity. It's been called coincidence. There's no such thing as what we know as coincidence. But the word truly means coincidence. Two things are coinciding. So nothing is random. My brother Angelo Lavender Soul, piano player, brother. I got one for Angelo. He's laughing. What's up, Larry Flaxman? So the language of light, it's been called synchronicity, coincidence, alignments, serendipities, coinkydinks, miracles, magic, whatever you want to call it is truly irrelevant, but everybody has their own. So the language of light looks like that. Not only does it look like that, the language of light sounds like that. How can you identify when you are communicating or dialoguing or understanding the dialect of the language of light? It's not hard. Look at someone you love. Hello, Raquel. Yeah, my brother Angelo says, hang on, I'm going to get this right for him. Y'all going to laugh at this. You guys ever seen the movie Enemy Mine? He's laughing, I can tell. So the language of light. Think about someone you love. It makes your innards swell, expand into a really, really cool space. That is the best space to be in, to ever understand the volume and the language that's always happening everywhere. There's always a language happening. There's never nothing going on. Never nothing going on. Never nothing going on. Something is always transpiring. One way I would like to share with you how you can relate this to your own life, and a very powerful example of language of light that I had happen to me 1995. I had a phone call. Some friends called and asked if they could come over. Could we do a meditation class? I said, sure. There was supposed to be a whole bunch of us show up. Only 2 others, so there's 3 of us total. So waiting on the others to show up, we didn't know they weren't going to come until after they finally called. But until then, to kill time, I pulled out some tarot cards, started throwing them down. I blessed them. Said, Spirit, is there a language? Is there a message for any of us? And I look at my friend. I looked at my friend Kenya. I was giving the group a reading, not just Kenya. And I look at Kenya and I said, bro, your guides are about to slam you with a powerful message. He said, tell them to bring it on. I said, all right. I said, they're telling me this message is going to be so powerful, you won't be able to contain yourself literally. I had no idea. We had no idea. I just gave the message. A few minutes go by, and Kenya asked, Keith, can you share with us what an alignment is? I said, sure. Out of nowhere, I just say, let's suppose that I call you tomorrow and just see what's up. And you say, oh, nothing, man. I'm just reading this book about a cyclops. It's a fiction. But there's a cyclops that terrorizes this village. And I said, I decide I'm, for whatever reasons, call Carrie tomorrow, or she calls me. And I say, what are you doing? She goes, I'm watching this movie about a cyclops. It's not a commonly used word. There's an alignment, somewhat to whatever degree, in that coincidence, if you will. And at that moment of explaining this to the group, Carrie says, what did you say? I said, cyclops. She takes off her hat, and on the back of the hat, she had a pin of a cyclops. That is being spoken to. Now, the message could be in the symbology. Cyclops, the ability to see. At that time, it could have applied. But it may not be the symbology whatsoever. The fact that you were in an alignment that got your attention was Spirit's way of saying, now that I got your attention, listen up for the real message. Or maybe it's just to bask in the glory and the grace that you have been given a glimpse of the higher language. That's the language of light. Many years ago, I was playing music at Alfred's on world famous Beale Street. And I was giving this lady, during the break, a straight up reading. I had no cards. I was just glancing her, scanning her with my eye, my heart, seeing what could be amiss for her or right on for her. And I'm able to do this over the many years of learning the language. So she sits down and I give her a couple of nuggets here and there. And I said, wow, you just bought you a brand new Honda. She said, oh my God, I did. She goes, tell me what color it is. And I said, it's red. She says, how did you know that? I said, you see that lady in the red dress that just passed? When you asked me that question, I was watching her. That's the language of light. It will never lead you astray. Once you learn the language, you can speak in your language of whatever country you come from. You can speak in the intuitive fashion. You can speak on the light level, the audio level, on levels we can't hear, that dogs can hear. Not meaning you're going to hear whistles and stuff like that. That's not my point. My point is, you may be hearing other bandwidths of other layers of consciousnesses speak to you. You can call it your spirit guides. You can call it your angelic beings. You can call it your loved ones that have crossed over to the other side. It's all real. You can live in faith or you can live in doubt. You only have one choice out of two that you can make. Now as we learn the language, we may bounce back and forth when we're not having our good days of standing in the garden, or not so good days when we're in a briar patch. Hello, Roxanne. Hello, Mike Blanchard. So the language of light is truly not that hard. We're living it already. What you really want... Oh, wow. Check it out. I'm learning. Shaktipat, y'all. I got language of light coming out of my palms. That is the language of light as well. When you see pictures of divine beings and they're doing this, everything's backwards. That's the Om symbol. That's the universal primordial sound. And when beings like this divine man you see right next to you do this, the universal language of light called Shaktipat comes out of this divine incarnation, and you get blasted with the language of light on levels you never thought possible. You may not know something's going on, but there's never nothing going on. There's never nothing going on. Do you understand the language? I strongly suggest that if you have not seen the movie Peaceful Warrior, starring Nick Nolte, it's a true story of a United States Olympic gymnast who had this old man come to him in a dream. He woke up from the dream, walked down the road at 3 a.m, walked into this gas station, and there was the old man. And he began to teach him how to understand, listen, experience. You see, seeing and listening, this is not only seeing. Seeing is not only your physical eyes. Seeing is a way of taking in information. See what I mean? Are you able to glean that very language? I often speak in riddle. I use rhymes all the time. And I'll throw one out on a dime. But I'm always speaking in these different facets, these broken pieces of mirror, if you will, so that they can, in time, when you're ready, understand the language that you are being spoken. There's never nothing going on. And it's all light. Everything radiates light. Your body radiates light. If you did not radiate light, you would be invisible or dead. So encrypted in this light, as you look at people, as you look at your life, the reason you're able to see it, because it's all light. And when you see that everything is all right, you open up the gate, you open up your light ears, if you will, to understand and hear the language at last. You get really good at this, you can see when people are jacking you around. When you get really good at this, you can see when others are pillars of light themselves. And then you lean into the flock. You find your tribe, who, when they all come together and imbibe together, then your whole clan is packed with a light. What's up, Kwame? He'll tell you about the language of light. So the language of light first requires the want to hear it, the want to understand it. They call it coincidence, synchronicity, alignments, miracles, serendipity. All these words we can describe to being in a space of true alignment, to hear our true language. We just kind of forgot. We stepped out of the country for 20 years and kind of lost our dialect. It ain't that hard. But once you get really good at it, when you receive encrypted messages, some people call them downloads, that would be a language of light. But I am truly referring to having a real-time conversation, a real-time experience in your life, looking for the light, the true light, not the dull light that you can somewhat see because there's a whole bunch of mess behind it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of mess in front of it. Let me fix my light. But I'm talking about the light, the pillar, the one that's illuminating the path that says, what's that movie? The Men That Stare at Goats with George Clooney and Ewan McGregor, and they had a path. And they said, which way we go? And they don't know. And something happens, and George Clooney just takes off. It's the language of light. It'll tell you where the path opens up. Hello, Thomas Boudreaux. Hello, Mary Beth. Are you remembering your native tongue? You may not have to know how to speak it. I can go to a country and kind of gesture around to get what I want. But if I want to understand and truly take in the experience, don't you want to hear the dialect and the language of the country? I think it would be a lot easier to hear the language. And so, in this regard, you don't have to go into glossolalia or speaking in tongues. You don't have to do any of that. You want to understand it. Because right now, it's in our best interest that we are receivers, not transmitters. Because as we receive openly, honestly, and truthfully in a way we understand, then output becomes a natural response. But until we understand, output will always be faulty and unbalanced and wobbly. When we understand that which is bombarding us, right now we still live on the earth in the outside world. Use it to launch you inward, which is upward, which is forward, which is toward paradise, heaven on earth prophecy. And suddenly, through the silence, when you understand the language, the new world appears. And the way you're ever going to understand that language is by first being quiet. Basically, shut up. Stop. Shh. Stop the monkey. Not only does he yammer on, he wants more yammering from other people. That's his soul group. The monkey's tribe is ya 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 blah 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 yada 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 yak 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 yak. That's the monkey. He can only dialogue with his own kind. So he wants to submerge himself in a group that yaks all the time. This is about you and no one else. Well, Keith, what about my family? This is about you and no one else. Because when you best understand your native tongue, Yanava, if you will, Ya, heart, God, will, purpose, passion, fire, divinity, the circle and the yoke of the Y. Unity, divinity, completion, wholeness. The line above the N, Na, the mind, is linear. We live our time from here to here. Va is the backbone. Ya, na, va. And the backbone has a pillar inside of the V. That represents an erect backbone, standing upright. Even if you're in a wheelchair, you can stand upright. If you're in a wheelchair, you can stand upright. You have to have a posture about you, a confidence about you, because it has nothing to do with your legs. It has to do with your backbone. And the backbone is not necessarily physical. Your backbone means to be upright and balanced with yourself. When you have this yanava in your experience, you are balanced with the language of light. And then you can start hearing things that are never being spoken. Can you understand what people are not saying? Can you hear that loud and clear? Then you're speaking the language of light. Gonna be right back. Keith Anthony Blanchard, Yanava, Center of Light Dialect. Learn the language of light. Your life will get a lot easier. You will understand the dynamic that's happening in the world and where the real light shines. I'll give you one example, one spiritual love nugget. How can you tell where the light shines? You can see it in people's eyes when they speak. They're passionate. They're on fire. And they're willing to die for it. They want to impart something to you beyond money. It may cost some money, but they want to impart something to you way beyond that. And you can see it. I'm not talking about someone who knows their course and they're just speaking it and they're fluent in. And you know, the first part is this bullet point is, that's not what I'm referring to whatsoever. This always comes from that right there. And when you become that yourself, then you can easily, without effort, struggle, strain, recognize your tribe. And do we not all want to know our tribe is there?
I lift you up to your most high. Cherish the time when you walk by. I see you in my life for all time. I've touched your face 1,000 lifetimes. I know the way you talk in rhymes. The breath you take is part of mine. As you float before my eyes, you touch my hand, it makes me cry. Just to know you're there, just to know you're there. So here we go again, like the sun's with a friend. Another chance to let love in. And in another life, our eyes will meet one more time. I see you in my life for all time. As you float before my eyes, touch my hand, it makes me cry. Just to know you're there.
Language of light. Clarion call. Well, my aim is always to be clear. It's about being clear. We have gotten in a lot of redonkulous trouble. On the double, it showed up because we have not been clear. You will not find your soulmate until you understand the language of light. Maybe that's been the difficulty the whole time. Abigail says something very amazing, very on point. If the language is not understood, then there is nothing being communicated but sound, noise. It's just noise. We don't understand the language of the divine, it becomes noise. If we don't understand the language of Jesus, then Christianity falls by the wayside. If we don't understand the language of the Buddha, then that's what we are. We're practicing Christians and practicing Buddhists. We're not really ever going anywhere. We're practicing what we know, and we never expand ourselves beyond no, goo goo gaga. Hey mama dada, bado, goo goo gaga. We stay in goo goo gaga. All we hear is radio goo goo, radio gaga. That's the radio station we're listening to. We somewhat can follow along with the language, but we're really not fluent in it. Great point, Abigail. If the language is not understood, then all that's being communicated is sound. So I'm going to read you some from the Divine Principle. What's up, Brother Joe? Nori Love. I may have something for you, Nori Love. Contact me soon, beautiful girl. All right, we're speaking about the language of light. Let me give you, here's the language of light. One we are. We are all one. One family, only one family. We are all only one family. That's the language of light. I, you, he, she, this, that, and all. We are all universal family. Whatever the religion may be, whatever the race may be, whatever the nation may be, whatever the language may be. We're all human beings. We're all human family. Let us unite in the name of humanity. That's the language of light. Let us unite for peace and prosperity. Let us unite for ourselves and for all. Let us unite for our Mother Earth and the universe. Unity makes us strong and peaceful. Unity brings us bliss and prosperity. If we unite, we can make miracles. If we unite, we can throw away poverty. If we unite, we can make the earth a heaven. If we unite, we can bring the Lord to the earth. Unity is our strength. Humanity is our life, written by a 14-year-old boy from Seattle named Rishi. The love of God enfolds me. The light of God surrounds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me wherever I am. God is. That is the language of light. That is the language of light. It's the language of light. Hello, Linda. Being in such a space within yourself, placing yourself in this grace, this ever-present grace, the language becomes clear. As I said a bit ago, not only you can understand words to their fullest capacity and deeper meaning, you can also understand the language of what is not being said. Eye movement, scratching their nose when they say something. And then you don't have to hyper-focus to find these little idiosyncrasies that these people are doing. Not because you're trying to invade or violate their quietness. It's just learning a language. You go at it from that position because you won't learn it otherwise. Because then you're prying and you will never learn it. Because you'll be hyper-fixed and hyper-focused on someone else's folly in some strange way, non-verbal communicative way, supporting them in it, and therefore becomes part of your own karma. Not part of your dharma, part of your drama. Daddy or mama. So the language of light can appear or not appear in many different ways. From the Divine Principle, we're going to speak about understanding the language of light known as coincidences, serendipities, magic, miracles, alignments, the language of light regardless. Here we go. From the divine principle, I ask Spirit, or Spirit says, the entire universe is in a constant state of change. This never changes. Yet within this paradox, the language of light, yet within this paradox there is something that is fixed, permanent, and absolute. An anchor that moors the universe's intention, order, direction, and unfolding. That something is God, the unchanging changer. Because many of you have begun to do so much internal work, your perceptions are heightened. The radar's picking up more signal. And right now it seems that there are more changes happening than ever before, does it not? The fact is that nothing has really changed here except your level of awareness. Back before it developed, what never seemed to change was that nothing seemed to be going right in your life. But your new cognizance has altered that for you, has it not? And I say, yep, it has. And I believe I'm really starting to make some sort of sense of this paradox thing. Spirit says, you think? Well, my friend, you are correct, because I can see with each passing day that you are spotting the synchronicity, the coincidences in your life, and are beginning to freely interact with them. And I say, wow. So where does synchronicity come from? How does it manifest? And what does it mean? It is born out of my essence, Keith, in the causal realm. From there, it swirls through your mind and into your feelings, aligning events around you on the earth plane. But coincidences have no significance other than to get your attention through higher means so that you can grasp the very alignment you are in. Because you are beginning to truly open your eyes and ears, you can hear the higher language. Wow! And can at last see order in what has always appeared to be chaos. Remember that paragraph, that sentence. I say I can see order in chaos, and every once in a while I can see the order. But it's still challenging for me to grasp order in the chaos. Spirit says, here's an alignment. Here's a synchronicity. Here this sits. Here this sits. What just happened to me is the divine language. It's the language of light. And I say I can see chaos, but sometimes can see order. But it's tough for me to see the order in the chaos. And Spirit says, keep looking, Keith, because chaos is like a snow globe whose contents may be shaken, but whose shimmering flakes always settle back into order. So it is in the physical universe. Though things may be shaken, they still find their place to settle. Now, do you see how there's order even in chaos? I say sorta. Soon, my friend, soon, as you continue to awaken, everything will come into clearer, I love this thing. Thank you, Robert. Clearer view. The pace of change will quicken for you, and synchronized phenomena will occur more frequently. The more you can successfully navigate using the compass of synchronicity, that language, understanding the dialect, the more effective you will become as captain of your own mastership. Then nothing will slip by you unmonitored, and the wake of your past will be replaced with your own willpower, your ya. This is how you will evolve. Acknowledging God as omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, the divine source principle embodied within all things. Inherent in each of these is the whole of the divine principle. It will take your heart to fully comprehend them because they are formless, above and beyond language. But the sooner you begin to open yourself to them, ground them and master them, the sooner you can come home. There is no need to wait until death, for living the divine principles will help you grant life throughout your life. What I wanted to remember to go back to was a message I recently found from Mike Archangel, which another alignment coincides, miraculously just happens, that I vesseled recently. I don't usually name energies that come into me like Michael or Jesus, or I just don't do that. But this one was pretty persistent. And I was told, remember, Keith, that order is a great and divine thing. But understand that without the tiniest bit of chaos, order loses its purpose. What is being said here is enjoy your life. Let go and live it with style and without guilt. What you are sometimes blind to is seeing that order, more often than not, lies in the freeness of things. Allowing yourself simply to be free. When you allow yourself to simply be free, you're becoming to see, hear, listen, see the divine language of light. So what I would like you to start doing for yourself, if you have not already, and if you are, let tomorrow when you see one of my memes or posts remind you, oh, I'm supposed to be, go back into your natural language. Go back to your native tongue. Heck, if you want, close your eyes and just allow utterances to come out of your mouth. They don't have to mean anything to anybody else. Because in the very simple utterances that come out of you is encrypted with something as to where you reached into the filing cabinet of your soul to pull out such utterances that you utter. You have to go in. So in is where information is where the language is. So ask yourself the question, why did I just utter that phrase of sounds? Why? Just to be silly and stupid? I don't think so. Nothing inside of you is silly and stupid. If you bring it from here, there's a lot of silly and stupid up in here. But if you go inside with the connection, the one that you connect with parent, to the language of light, a beautiful sound, a very beautiful, simple sound may come out of you. How is that not filled with the effulgence of your divine creator? Look around you. See everything innocently, objectively, without rhyme, reason. Don't give it a reason. Just see it. You are the reason. That's it. There is no other reason for anything. You are the reason for everything. There is no other reason for anything. Because when you truly see yourself as the personification of that very light language, you see everything innocently, and then you connect to the grid, the internet soul provider. Not the internet soul provider, the internet soul provider. Because now you understand the language. You're speaking your language fluently. And therefore, you have no choice but to be in non-judgment, non-critique, non-criticizing, non-blame, non-shame, non-racism, non-separation of all sorts. There is light that exists in everyone. For many, it's covered up. And some of them let it out in spurts. And some of it are very fluent with their language. Their language of being. The light language is truly the language of being. The light language is the language of being. How are you being with yourself? Are you being light on yourself? Are you being heavy on yourself? Do you take yourself lightly? Do you live your life with delight? Are you lighthearted? Are you aware? In the light of awareness. Do you see the light? You have to be clear-minded to see it. We all get glimpses of it. Even in a joke, someone tells you a beautiful joke, no matter how dirty it is, It touches you. It opens up God gate, the God gate. I love that, the God gate. It opens up the God gate in you. And you touch the light. That's the aha. Wow, that's funny. What is the wow that's funny? That's enlightenment. I became enlightened to something, a riddle, a paradox, something I didn't know on this plane until you brought this knuckleheaded nonsense joke to me and uttered that language into my ear. It's a dirty language. And it created such a beautiful opening in me that laughed. It's all not important. You are important. How are you taking things? Are you done with it? Or do you just want to live in the goo goo gaga, the baby? All we hear is radio goo goo, radio gaga. Radio, we love you. Queen, royalty. Are you listening? Can you see? You have to be in order to free yourself to see it. When you look for it, softly gaze. Hello, darling. When you look for the language, don't look. You will never see it. You will hyperfix and hyperfocus on something that's self-created, self-induced. And you're looking so hard. Look lightly. So what you do is you create a soft gaze. You pull back and you take it in. And you run it through your filter, your heart filter. You run it through your non-judgmental filter and simply ask yourself, how does that feel to me? Yes, certain things may piss you off. It could be part of the light language. Let's use that. It'll make sense. If certain things piss you off, it could be the light language. If certain things make you mad, it's not the light language. It's your own nonsense. It's being filtered through your nonsense. Certain things that are of light language that is trying to get our attention because we have not been paying attention, coronavirus and so forth and so on, can piss you off. Because it's meant to. It's meant to open you up to hear the language, which is, this ain't so fun anymore. Being mad is pouty. Total different experience. So the light language can come as a soft, warm glow in your heart. Kind of like these 2 lamps I just bought today. So soft, warm glow. Yo. And simply you just know. And then certain things may pass through that beautiful filter of yours, the God gate, and may not sit so well. So what you do is you turn on your divine charm. I'm full of it tonight. Turn on your divine charm to warm as these lights do and lighten up the situation as the Christ did. That's what the Christ did. He didn't forgive you of your sins. God is eternal. God is all forgiving. You've been forgiven forever. What happened was he allowed the people of this world's darknesses to move through his pure heart. So in his gentleness, in his warm glow of a light being, dissipated the darkness into light, transmuted simply into light. That's the truth. He turned the darkness into light. So when the language that you allow to filter into your God gate is not so peachy, you turn on the divine charm to warm up the situation. You create a soft glow around it. I do this all the time. I see so much nonsense in the world. And it will also require you to be in that warm glow of a space to ever hear even so much as a whisper. Hey, Keith. Hey, John. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sue. Can you hear me? Huh? Did you say something? Can you hear me? Huh? Fall. And then you listen. Same idea applies. When you look at the world and all its seemingly ugliness, instead of bitching back at the world, it creates an argument with people. Tonight's Center of Light, Dialect, learning the language of light. Someone may be, quote, at fault, and they just start getting in your grill. And if you let them do it, and do it alone, when they're done, you look at them and say, I love you. They left with themselves. That's that warm glow, that warm God gate. You let the nonsense pass through and you transmute it. You start arguing back with someone. We all do this. You start arguing back with someone, they're not left with themselves. They're left with what you said to them last. So when we get out of the argument of the mind, the argument of the world, the argument of whatever the situation may be, it's all internal. It's an internal bickering. That's why certain subjects talked around me makes me want to lead the conversation. I don't want to be around the nonsense. Well, Keith, it's beautiful to me. Congratulations. Hang out with your tribe and have a beautiful time. I'm simply not interested. Learning the language of light. Sue says it's the language of love. Same thing said differently. Center of light. Dialect, the language of light. It is in what people say. It is also in what they don't say. It's how they move, how they don't move. When their eyes turn, when you say a certain word, when their eyes turn and they say a certain word, you start learning this language. And you will see that I'm learning how to do these whole things on my head. I'm having fun. Everything's backwards. When you start learning this language, your life gets easier. The light turns on and says, the path is that way, and so you navigate this way. Path is this way, so you navigate this way. Practice this. Look around. Don't be so hard. Be light. Don't be so heavy. Be light. Back up, soft gaze, take it in. In fact, tomorrow, if it's a nice sunny day and it's bright, look at a patch of blue sky. Not the sun, because it'll hurt your eyes. But look at a very lit patch of blue sky. Same analogy. Don't look so hard into the sky to try to see what I'm asking you to look for. Soften your gaze and look. Let your focus go out. Ease your gaze. And you will see trillions. Everyone can do this. Especially on a snow day. But tomorrow, if you can see a blue sky, look into the sky and relax your eyes. And you will see tons of globules of light, photons, individual photons of light, individual gates of God, the language of light. Well, Keith, that's just those floaters on your eye. I'm sorry, it's not. You can convince yourself that that's the truth, but that's not a floater. Yes, we have floaters. That's not one of them. And you'll see them move at God's speed to somewhere and blip off to somewhere else. And they're unending. And the brighter the day, the more there are. Hence, there are individual units of light, photons of light. So when they're plentiful, there's brighter light. You'll be fascinated. You'll see that the language of light is everywhere, even in those things that you wish were not happening to you. Without light, you can't see shit. So now when we understand the things that we have labeled as not good, suddenly become illumined with light. Because the light was always there. We just hadn't seen it. We hadn't learned the language. We hadn't learned the frequency. We haven't grasped the frequency. Have not been open to the frequency and how frequently, the frequency of how quick it happens, but also the frequency, the vibrational signal. And then you begin to see things no one else does. That's how a person can become psychic, how a person can become clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, claircognizant. It's how people know shit, basically. If God is all-knowing, then it makes sense to me that the more I know, the closer I get to God, the more I know. If God is all-powerful, then it makes sense to me, the closer I get to God, the more power I get. If God is omnipresent, then it makes sense to me, the closer I get to God, the more I become spiritually liberated. That's the language of light. If you want to move out of the old world that's already dead, stop trying to be an old world language archaeologist trying to dig up the old language. At least let a couple of thousand years go by before you start jacking with trying to resurrect the old world and the old world language. Dog. The language of light. It's all around you. Do you know the language? As Sue said so beautifully, reside in love, non-judgment. Live in your innocence. Stop describing shit. You will never hear the language if you're never quiet. Be quiet. Simply look. Want to see. See what? Doesn't matter. See what you see. See what I mean. And then you will see that everything is a divine sea moving all around. The language of light. Do you want to hear your deceased loved ones? You can. I do. Do you? The question becomes, will you? Do you want to see peace in the world? That way you can become a great catalyst for change. Because in so doing, when you see the peace that's already there, you're sending out blast of infinite light to the world simply by being a beautiful human being. And then you're able to see. You're able to see peace in the world because you hold no fault to anyone cutting up and doing ridiculous, nonsensical shit. It's called forgiveness. So the world that you are able to foresee, that you create within yourself because you can see the language of light, which you are as a personification of, and so is everything else in the world. When you come from love, you see it as such, and the world changes. There is no other way. If it does not align or fall under the graceful rain umbrella of the model I painted here tonight, it will rain storms, lightning storms all around you. And you will never hear anything but thunder. If your religion, creed, walk, talk, code, or sect follows under this grace, summer shower, spring shower, you understand the language of light. The reason you are able to have this life is because the language of light gives you this life. The language of light is not necessarily glossolalia or speaking in tongues, which it can be. It can show up as language of light script or ancient writing. It can be. But what I am talking about is that which is complete and whole within itself. And that exists in every photon of light. You are made of light. If you are not made of light, no one can see you. You would be invisible or dead. You would be back in the light. So on this night, Center of Light Dialect, learn the language of light. Practice it. Go back to your native tongue. We all heard the saying, in the light of awareness. Hello, Tori. If you want to understand the language of light, if awareness is light, and the light of awareness, and in all fairness, if you want to understand your native tongue, the language of light, you have to go back to your native self. Pure, infinite, absolute awareness. You are loved beyond measure. It is my pleasure to be with you. You are a treasure. The language of light. The language of light. Practice it. You want more practice? Contact me. Make an appointment. I'll get you into the God gate. You're loved beyond measure.